Good morning. Has anybody been encouraged? Excuse me. Has anybody been encouraged to work on their food independence this morning yet? Great. It's great to be at a place where we can have this conversation. It's an important topic these days. I remember when we were growing vegetables and operating a CSA back in 2008 through 2012, we heard and read a lot about the need to preserve and pass on the knowledge to grow healthy food. Now, 15 years later, we realize how important this conversation actually is. So, glad to see you all. Glad to be here. I'm thankful to still live in a land where we can grow our own food. Even though we ourselves at home only actually grow a small percentage of what we eat, we're blessed to live in a community that grows a large variety of food. And I get to see that when I go out to the farms, look at the fields, the crops, watch what gets harvested, what gets planted. I feel pretty blessed to have a job and see that happen, and the passion that people have to actually grow healthy food. So we live in a blessed community in that aspect. My job as an agronomist at Maysville Elevator takes me to many different farms and gardens. We help farmers and gardeners maintain and improve their soils for growing food for humans and livestock. I really love to work with small gardens, home gardeners. We can do a lot in small gardens where we can't do as much on a larger scale because of cost and intensity. So I really enjoy working with gardeners for sure. I see homesteaders in a little different light than I used to. People that grow their own food, I never looked at them in a negative light, but I'm looking more at homesteaders as the nation's food providers in the future. If we heard Joel Salatin talk about farmers not making changes, a lot has changed in the soil in the last 10, 15 years, just because of all the chemicals and everything that have been used over time. Nobody seems to be immune to it, but in order to grow really healthy food, we have to do it a little differently than what the farmer used to. And there's many farmers out there that won't make that change. So the homesteaders on a small scale can do their own research. They don't have to have as much risk as a farmer, and they can learn how to grow good food. If we look at that picture, I'm not here to prophesy anything or tell us what we're going to see in the future, but if you see the farmer struggling, not being able to grow food because of weather events or whatever it may be, we can see homesteaders working really hard to share and pass on that food. My topic today is about increasing soil power naturally. So I don't have a PowerPoint. I should have had. I'd love to have a PowerPoint and show you some tests and things that we do and how we work with the crops. But my excuse is I didn't have time to prepare one. I was out in the field busy with the farmers, which is more fun than speaking to a crowd anyway. So I didn't want to prep for this. I'll be focusing mostly on vegetable gardening right now on a small homesteading scale. Even though these principles also are used in organic commercial production, I believe it's easier to grow food that is nutritious and clean enough to be called medicine on a small scale. Partly because of economics, partly because of the intensity of management and observation. For example, if a farmer can afford to spend $300 per acre per year on soil improvements, which is kind of the average for a farmer, what that costs a gardener that has a 30 by 40 foot garden, which is a 1,200 square feet, is $8.26. So if you're looking at a farmer trying to figure out his budget, and he says he can hardly spend more than $300 a year on improving his soil inputs, as far as money is concerned, there's a lot of other management things you can do, but as far as money is concerned, that's what a homesteader would spend, $8.26 on a 1,200 square foot garden. If we do soil testing, amending, the things that we do to correct the soil for the first year, as far as cost goes, it's not uncommon for a garden to spend $40 to make a big change for the first year on a 1,200 square foot garden, which would cost a farmer $1,451 on an acre, basically on an acre basis. So that's the difference from large scale to small scale, making a quick change. I always tell the farmer we've got two ways to do it: time or money. if we use cover crops, animals, livestock, we can really build up a soil, but it takes longer. We can also add some inputs, biochar, for example, but we have to pay for that. So soil quality, or the power of soil to produce healthy crops, varies widely, and so does crop health. The Bionutrient Food Association has done a lot of research testing food grown in different soils, testing for nutrients, and they have determined that nutrition varies widely in foods. I've got a sheet here. I'd love to show it on the PowerPoint slide, but for example, what they found in wheat is the variation that they found in wheat was 4 times. So think the nutrition in 1 ton of wheat can be the same amount as nutrition in 4 tons of lesser quality wheat. Those were the 2 extremes. Grapes, 15 times. So you'd have to eat 15 poor quality grapes to get the same amount of nutrients as 1 good quality grape. So those are some of the examples there that the Bionutrient Food Association, if you want to do research, you can Google Bionutrient Food Association. They've got a lot of information on that. Now, how do we know if our soil has power? How do we know if our soil is healthy and productive? If we look at it by inspection, number 1, it needs to be loose and crumbly. So you want it kind of looking like coffee grounds. Can you dig down with just your hand to your elbow in the soil? Can you dig down that far with just your hand? Most people will probably say you can't, but if you can do that, you probably have a very, very healthy, productive soil. Think about ways to get there. If you smell it, it smells sweet. It does not smell sour or rotten. There's research out there that proves the theory that you can actually get a high from the gases coming off of a healthy soil. It's from the microbial action. It makes people feel good. It's one reason we like to go out there and get our hands dirty. You can see life, earthworms. Lots of earthworms in soil is a sign of a good, healthy soil. Now, by inspecting the plants, you can also tell if you have a healthy soil. Are they disease and pest-free? The amazing thing is, if a plant has all the nutrition it needs, the pests will not eat that plant. Sugar is too high. They can't digest sugar. It'll kill them. It'll kill the bugs. That's what their antennas are for, is to find food for the bug. They detect it if there's enough nutrition there and the plant is healthy enough. Think about immune systems. A plant can actually basically repel diseases if it has a functional immune system. It's healthy enough. We don't see it a lot, and I'll get into that later. But if you're looking at the plants, are they disease and pest-free? If you look at the roots, you want to see a lot of fine white thread-like tentacles coming off of the main roots. Kind of thread-like little white tentacles coming off the roots. That's a healthy plant. You don't see that a lot either. The leaves have a nice dark green color. They're not curled or crinkled. If they're curled or crinkled, not shaped naturally, they're stressed. They're trying to do something with nutrition or something that's not quite right. The leaves have a waxy sheen. That's a sign of essential oils. If they have everything they need, they basically put a waxy coating on the leaf. That's essential oils and fats that the plant can put out if it has enough nutrition. So Advancing Eco-Agriculture is another one of my mentors, and they printed a sheet of plant health progression, another slide I should show you. So what they did is they've got 4 levels of plant health, and those levels of plant health are based on nutrition and lack of stress to the plant. Number 1 level is the basic, what a plant basically does. Successful photosynthesis forms complete complex carbohydrates, such as pectins and polysaccharides, which build resistance to soil-borne fungal pathogens. And then if the plant can go up that level higher, then it becomes resistant to aphids, whiteflies, larval insects. It's transferring sugars to the roots, and the soil microbes will digest the nutrition and get it into the plant more. It gets healthier. Level number 3 is enough of nutrition. It'll have a storage of surplus energy in the form of lipids, fats, and oils. Think the waxy sheen I was telling you about on the leaf. At the 4th level, and this is something we very seldom see because there's no end to studying nutrition in plants and soil, and we can go down a rabbit hole pretty quick on testing. It's no different than creation God created. There's no end to finding new things. But the 4th level is the production of plant secondary metabolites, which act as plant protectants to guard against ultraviolet radiation, disease, and insect attack. But at that point, to get there, everything has to be functioning optimally in the soil, nutrition. And now we ask ourselves, why do we not see that? We don't see that a lot in farms, in gardens. Why do we not see this level of plant health? When we get this level of plant health, we basically have food as medicine. Now, the big one that's changed over the last, I don't know, 50 or you could say 50 years, is just simply the chemicals and the heavy metals that are in the soil. So the plants use certain minerals and others they don't, or metals. One, for example, that they do not use, that they don't want, is aluminum. And aluminum is in a lot of things. It's in feed, it's in animal feed, it's in our own food, it's in the rain. We actually tested the rain this spring, thanks to some people in the crowd here, to see what the aluminum level is in the raindrops. It was there. So it's basically toxic to plants. Plants don't use it. Having aluminum accumulate in the soil has happened over these years, and now it's become a big issue. We're not talking about it much. People don't know much about it. It's fairly new. But one of the reasons I feel is just simply because plants don't use it. And if it gets put in there every year by something, rain or whatever it may be, it'll build up. Now we've seen a level of buildup in the soil that is really harming our plant health. I don't have the data or the actual information, but I've been told Monsanto is really doing a lot of research on aluminum-resistant seeds, and they're sitting on a mountain of aluminum-resistant seeds for the time when it's needed. So that's a big thing that we're looking at. The key to all this, when we're looking at plant health, is detoxing the soil and binding these things that are preventing it from happening. And once that gets done, plants can really take off. They can grow inches in a day if that nutrition, if those blocks are taken away from what's happening. So the detoxing is done by not applying more of these heavy metals, which they're in organic fertilizers, they're in mined minerals, they're in contaminated manure and composts. It just basically is dependent on where it comes from. Mined minerals are actually sediments that have been settled out of water, so heavy metals are along with that. One of the things we've discovered is when people start testing for these in their minerals, there's a big difference between clean minerals that don't have them and minerals that do, and that's not seen on the labels of the products. So one of the things that we can use to detox the soil is silica and clean carbon, biochar, clean humates. Some humates can be really high in aluminum, others can be fairly clean. We grow cover crops whenever we're not growing food crops. It's a good way to detox the soil. What we do is we test the soil for those. We also test the soil to have the other minerals, get the balances from the other minerals correct. Helps a lot. Adding microbial inoculants is a good way to do that. They can detox soil. They can really get the soil going. So those are some of the things that we do to improve the soil and get it to have some real good growing power. So a lot of this information has been discovered through sap testing, plant sap testing. We test the leaves, we send them in, we test the bottom leaves, top leaves, basically like a human blood test, see what's going on. Are the nutrients moving from the bottom leaf to the top leaf? What's out of balance? And then why, if it's not correct. Chlorides, aluminum, those are tested in the leaf sap. So if we add silica and we get those levels down, the good levels go up. Plant health goes up. So I hope I didn't bore you too much. That is basically kind of the work that I'm in. I enjoy it, and I would encourage everybody to, I would probably imagine if we'd look for a show of hands, everybody would say, yeah, I can probably improve my garden. No different from myself. There's always room for improvement, always room to work on, and we're always learning. But I really feel like homesteaders, people that have their own garden, have great potential to grow food as medicine. So, thank you. Enjoy your day.